What if you could increase your ability to hire the best talent in the world by making one change? Would you do it? Great, we're on the same page. In today's video, we're going to talk about your applicant tracking system, ATS for short. And even if you don't have an ATS in place, all these steps will be valuable to know if you're looking to implement one. If you have not watched the roadmap, data, or audit video, I threw cards up above for those videos. So let's dive in. Let's start with a very, very critical item, usability. Specifically, what you're trying to uncover is, do you have a system in place that has high utilization, high user adoption and satisfaction, and is really effective and efficient? And the only way to really know how usable your system is surveys. And specifically, you're going to want to survey ideally internal and external stakeholders. Internally, one survey would really be for the hyper users. So that's your recruiters, that's your talent acquisition team. And then anyone else who interacts with the system would get another survey. This, for example, could be interviewers. Lastly, you should survey external users who utilized external facing features, maybe during the application process, the interview process, and offer them something in exchange like an Amazon gift card. But as I mentioned in my audit video, surveying candidates should be a part of the candidate experience process and something that I'll do a video on, something that should be built into the organization. Now, survey data should have been collected during the audit part. So let's dive into the usability in a little bit more depth, starting with automation. The most common and one of the most effective ways to get the most out of our ATS is by automating the resume screening process. This is very, very common knowledge, but for online applications, you can set specific criteria in your ATS for specific words for a key job, and that will filter the best resumes to recruiters, and that's going to save them a lot of time. This automation alone will just really, really speed up the process. Then you can add in additional automations like a way to build in an integration or system that sends follow-up emails out to candidates, schedules interviews, provides alerts, and the last item will definitely foster better overall collaboration, feedback, transparency, and follow-up. Those alerts are just going to make sure that the process is moving smoothly and quickly. Now, directly correlated with automation is customization. The newer your ATS is, likely the more customizable it is. And there are a couple of items that you can really customize to have better success. And building in specific workflows is one way to really customize your ATS. You can build in great scorecards and interview questions. Again, you can go back to automating out emails. This could be adding specific company branding and messaging. And you'll definitely want to obviously customize your reporting and analytics. And we're going to dive deeper into that later in this video. And one of the most important areas that is underutilized, and I want to spend a lot of time talking about in this video, is integrations. And let's dive into some critical areas where integrations can have a massive impact. Let's start with simply job posting and advertising. Now, absolutely the most important part of this category is going to be the posting. The ability to instantly integrate to big job boards like Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor. This will help you build a larger candidate pool, and you can utilize some of those platforms' advertising tools or integrations with other advertising platforms as well. So the job's posted. Now we need to integrate through sourcing, and there are endless integrations to make sourcing more efficient and effective. Then we can add in integrations that are helping us with something like the referral process, because we really want to double down and focus in on referrals. Those tend to be a great source of hire. Now, once candidates get more into the process, let's talk about some of those integrations. So an initial integration might be adding testing or assessments into the ATS. So for certain types of roles, maybe it's a technical role and you want to send out a technical test. That's a really good way to process something really, really early on. Now, I want to focus in on two of the most important integrations that your organization can use for better success. First, is candidate experience integrations. Available today, there are a ton of them. And what they do is a lot of these candidate experience integrations, they provide more resources and information to candidates, more insights into where they are in the process. They can even check whether you've opened the email that they sent to you. So this will just create a better follow-up and an overall better candidate experience. And the better the candidate experience, the more likely they are to accept your offer. Second, and probably my favorite, candidate experience is really important, is interviewer accountability. And this is one of the missing pieces of the process. Interviewers are not incentivized to be present during interviews. Specifically, they're physically there, but mentally, they're not engaged. So utilizing an integration tool that records all video interviews with an ability to slice and dice the recordings is a great way to not only hold interviewers accountable, but this can actually lead to improvements. There can be an audit of these recordings and learn how to make your interviewers better. This could be brought into interview training, etc. And really, the opportunities are endless on an integration like this. Other integrations that a really good or newer ATS can help your overall organization with are HRIS, that's Human Resources Information Systems tools. You can have background check integration, reference check integration, onboarding integration, definitely integrations that help and enhance your privacy and security, and reporting. Absolutely integrations that help with advanced reporting. Are you excited yet? I know the integrations piece is really, really heavy, but it's really important because integrations can be added over time. So while you're trying to get your ATS right, that piece does not need to be perfect, but it's something that's going to be ongoing. So now let's double down on the data and why a good ATS will be so helpful from a data perspective. And I specifically want to focus in on benchmarking, forecasting, metrics, and reporting. All four items will make hiring more predictable and repeatable. So let's start with benchmarking. Benchmarking helps with process and really sets the interview strategy standards. So it acts really as a measurement to continue to improve upon. And this shows up in a couple of ways. So we can benchmark absolutely from a scorecard perspective or an interview question perspective, and we can benchmark prospective employees against each other. So one last way that we can benchmark is also based on previous data. So let's say, for example, we hired Jane as a program manager a year ago and she crushed it. And we basically want to clone Jane. We can use the ATS benchmarks to inform us why Jane was such a good hire, and then we can edit the scorecard and interview questions to change this benchmark for future program managers because we want someone who looks like Jane. Forecasting will also allow for more informed decisions and help estimate what will be the future needs of the business. This can help your organization have a better overall hiring plan and allow for better recognition of patterns and trends to make sure that the right budgets are in place, you're reducing overall risk. Next is metrics. And metrics, there's so many different items we'll want to look at here, but it could be items like total number of applicants, referrals, or sourced candidates for a role, time to fill, quality of hire, cost of hire, source of hire, DEI hires, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. This could be about response rate. This could be about job abandonment. So we can really track from a metrics perspective how many people started the application process and didn't finish it. And again, that's something you'd probably want to survey. And then you can really use all this information to build great reporting and automate it. So my recommendation on a lot of these stats is that there's some form of monthly reporting, but at a minimum quarterly reporting, and then there can be more robust reporting that's maybe biannual or annual, and that's going to be sent to the leadership team, hiring managers, and there should be some overall transparency to the organization, so a lot of people are seeing this data, and that's just a big part of having an open hiring culture. So let's move on to compliance. Reporting can make sure your organization is compliant. And so let's spend a little bit more time on this concept with how an ATS can help compliance. It helps your organization adhere to standards, and it definitely establishes some ethical policies as well. It protects your organization from things like legal issues, fines. This could be even reputational damage. For example, let's say you're a company in California. In 2023, every job post is required to have a salary range. So you could simply add this in as a mandatory field before posting a job description. And then not only will the posting on your website be compliant, but all the job posting sites that are integrated. And this is just one example of how your ATS can help with compliance. So let's discuss 3 items that are correlated. And specifically, I want to talk a little bit about confidentiality, privacy, and security. Confidentiality is all about access. No one outside of talent acquisition should have the ability to access fully the ATS, other than to provide interview feedback and scorecard information, or provide a referral, for example. All other access should be unavailable, and this includes hiring managers, the leadership team, including the CEO. Setting strict criteria for confidentiality and privacy, this will be great for candidates and employees as well. And let's briefly discuss security. A good ATS can create secure checks and balances and flag bad behavior for anything unusual that might come up. And too often, it's a data issue. It's too available to too many employees in the organization who should not have access to sensitive information. And privacy should really be an organization's #1 concern, but also making sure that there's no bias or discrimination taking place because somebody outside of talent acquisition can access the information. And as you can likely tell at this point, the benefits of a good ATS are endless. But let me throw a few additional items your way and double down on a couple of items as well. Let's start with some key areas such as accuracy, consistency, efficiency, and organization. These 4 critical concepts will save your organization time and money by making everything easier for everyone that interacts and utilizes the ATS. It also allows all hiring decisions to be centralized and documented in one place. And a big item that I didn't dive into earlier in this video is searchability. With a good ATS in place, your talent acquisition department will often utilize your own system to identify current candidates for current openings, because it's easy to parse and identify the candidates that are the best match with real data. Applicants, not a lot of data. Previous candidates, you're going to have interview feedback and all sorts of notes that can inform better decisions. Before we end this video, I want to double down on accountability and candidate experience, something I've talked about in other videos, and I'm going to spend more time talking about it on this YouTube channel. The importance of these 2 areas are going to be critical and allow for continuous improvement and growth when hiring. And one more item is technology. More and more candidates are utilizing their phones for all items related to job search, and a good newer ATS will be a more seamless mobile experience for candidates. Whew. Okay, now that your ATS is in order, it's finally time to train our interviewers. Watch this next video on how to provide a great interview training.